All right, so the previous video I was discussing about how a friend of mine, anytime she's vulnerable, she actually just she's willing to talk, she's willing to be emotional, she's willing to just tell me stuff and open up and say she wants to hang out. And it's not, from my perspective, man, it's not a personal thing. I really just would love it if I get to hang out with people and do stuff. I would love it. I can't seem to have it happening here because like here either everyone just wants to complain, drink, or kind of like have ulterior motives. Like I really just want to hang out with guitarists and play guitar without them feeling anything towards me or me feeling anything towards them, whatever. But anyway, so whenever she's vulnerable, she's very much open to discussion, open to talking, and she kind of like messages, and she's very much on point when it comes to these things. Whenever I am, whenever she's busy, and normally I message her, and I don't message her late at night, man. I message her, I go like, I thought of you, how are you, how's everything, are you doing well? And she's like, yeah, super busy, hopefully I get to see you soon. But then later, a couple of days later, a week later, whatever, when she's alone, vulnerable, and I haven't messaged her for a while, she fucking messages me. And this is not me being dramatic, man. This is me understanding my boundaries. Like if you don't respond properly to something I messaged you, didn't respond properly. You responded with, I'm busy, hopefully I get to meet you soon, and I have a lot to do from now till the end of the month. All right. You just said everything. Why the fuck would I message you? And then a week later, it goes like, "Oh my God, man, I'm doing too much. I'm sad. I'm upset. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that." There's a whole lot of like, I'm grateful. There's a lot of emotions, and that's when she opens up and wants to talk. And as for me, I'm fine with that. But today, I messaged her checking on something we talked about 3 days ago because her mom was in the hospital, and her response was very dry, and I was like, "Yeah," and then it clicked. Uh, I don't think anyone's ever unstable, by the way. I really think they're not really 100% with themselves. So, in the time when I was kind of like trying to understand the world, I overexposed myself and allowed a lot of things to get in my head. And that's basically what happens with people. It's like when they're like trying to figure out what the hell's going on, that's where they kind of like get some anxiety. And anxiety, someone said it beautifully 2 days ago. Anxiety is basically the opposite of anxiety is trust. It's not like calm or peace. It's trust. When you're anxious about something, it's because you're not confident towards it. But when you trust it, you don't have to be confident. You're building your confidence with it, right? Like it's an easier flow. And it's a beautiful thing to say. But when it clicked in my head, the reason it clicked in my head because I was like, Tariq, man, every single time you have a conversation with somebody, especially like such conversations, when they're exposing stuff to you, I ask questions. And I'm not really myself when I'm actually asking questions. But here, look at a part of the conversation that was happening between me and her. She was like, I haven't slept really, no matter, and then it's a good night, no matter what it is, then your tears, we of joy. I'm so lucky and grateful for everything, what she was saying. Even when I'm feeling I am alone and I could use company, and I'm grateful. I am grateful. I am grateful for all my emotions as they are my teachers. And basically, here I respond with like everyone around you is lucky that you are the way you are, and you should know that. And it's true because like she actually is very much when she's around people, she's very all over the place. But it feels like she's around people a lot more just because she doesn't want to be alone. But she is alone most of the time. But I don't think she's making the best of it. I think it's very upsetting to her how she's alone, which probably is also like affecting me because like why am I thinking about this shit? It's not my life, but it's perfectly fine. Everything can be handled, and this is a way to handle it. So I go, I want to ask you a question, and she goes like, okay. And the reason why I wanted to ask the question is because she keeps talking about how much she cries every day, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But so I might look at what I wrote: feelings, emotions, thoughts, love. I find it hard to trust people. The people that are honest seem to always have something more hidden inside of them. As me directly like making a statement because at one point Are you just talking about all these feelings because you want other people to hear you? Or do you really just have them and they are a part of your identity? And here I go like, their honesty, the people's honesty, shines as more of a distraction for me. Because for me, when somebody's being honest and it's the truth, I don't trust their intentions. The reason I wouldn't trust their intentions, and I would normally not trust their intentions when they're being way too coherent. Like if they're being honest, but you can tell the story's off, then you get to decide: am I trusting their honesty, or are they just still not 100% comfortable with their honesty yet? And that's always the case because if you're trying to be honest, or if you're just being blunt honest. And sometimes you meet people that feel like they're honest simply because it's been rehearsed. Hey, this is my world. This is the way I see things. When you literally expose yourself to how people can be, then you're going to look at things, and when you look deeply and see how random people wouldn't give a fuck, and they would, like, how would bankers hurt the people that are like, know full well that the people they're working with are being screwed? How would garbage collectors, even if though it's their job, when they go and they just like pick half the trash because they don't care for the other half? How would people just not be true to themselves and authentic and all that bullshit? But anyways, so here my question to you is this: sometimes when emotions become a turmoil of events, how do you find a point to resolve them? The reason I was saying that is because like it really felt like all she wanted to do was to take me on that emotional roller coaster ride that she was going through. Because anytime she'd say I'm crying, she'd say I'm grateful, and she'd go for like 5, 10 minutes writing about all the stuff she's grateful about. And then as she's saying she's grateful, she talks about her emotions that come out and then take about all the emotions that come out. And it felt like all she wanted to do was kind of hear herself go through grateful and depressed, crying, sad, upset, lonely, to grateful, oh precious life, wow, I haven't done this in so long, and this is beautiful, and. All of them are legit. All of them are legit things we get to feel. All of them are legit things we think about. But my question was literally like, no, all of these are things that people resolve. Within myself, I realized a whole lot of these feelings. And one at a time, or sometimes more at a time. And sometimes I just like didn't have any of them for a while. Because like my mind is like, I'm done with this. I don't want to be thinking about this anymore. And then thought kind of flips. What the fuck is going on? And that's where when people are talking to you about like I had to change and I couldn't take it and all this stuff. So a lot of people, when they have it hard, what happens is they kind of like are confronted with like this forever or shift to something different. And they go through a strong move from one side of the equation to another. But for the others, if we're lingering in between, like it's not really that bad for us to kind of like be the way we are, but we're kind of not really happy. How do you resolve this? Because your emotions are just as legit as anyone else. And so my question for her was like, how do you actually, where does it find a point to resolve? Where? And at that point, she literally was like, I tried to tap, yeah. She said, first I cry. And I go like, it doesn't resolve it though, does it, crying? And she goes like, I wait for them to pass. And I'm like, if they're passing, you wouldn't be telling me that, because like that's the same thing you talked about 2 weeks ago. And you've been saying this has been your state for 5 years. So I've never been passed. They haven't passed. They've just been, it's like you're on a wave. It's like you're going up and then you're going down. You're going up and you're going down. 100%, man. But it's not the same water you're on the wave. It's not even the same wave. There's like different things, but there's an up and there's a down. But like if the same things are going up with you and same things are coming down with you, then you're not really going anywhere. You're just like bouncing up and down. It's not a flow. It's not a movement towards something. And then when I was like asking her, like she said, she wait for them to pass, and I was like, do you really, or do you really wait for them to pass, or have they become part of your identity? And like, I'm super proud of myself when I look at what I read. And normally, like when I'm having conversations with people, they feel a certain way, and if I'm talking to them again and they don't, and the conversation doesn't feel the same, or the interaction with them doesn't feel the same, I step back and I go like, how did we speak last time, and why did it happen? And normally, when you're talking to people for a long period of time, they get to kind of like, it's just basically all their foundations that are supposed to protect them slowly get diluted because their energy like is kind of like is getting depleted, so they can't pretend anymore. And you would be like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. But so like, her response was, I try to tap into a higher consciousness, which is basically God or the universe, and see. And then she basically explains about how she actually tries to اسمه, on how why they are surfacing and how I can learn from them and what it is there is to learn. Again, like this, she's saying this, but the reality is, like in her conversations, she's saying this is how she's been feeling for the past 5 years. Over the past 5 years, she still hasn't learned. Anyways, so my response is something a bit intense. It's like the higher realm resolves higher realm issues. We are of the mortal realm, but the tangible world needs its own attention too. And my response is, I don't like it when people cry. There's a happy slash release kind of crying, but most of other type of crying is frustration crying. And I look at her and be like, you always are crying out of frustration. What is that thing that's frustrating you, that's making you feel this way? And then she's like, I just need to sleep. We'll talk about that later. No wonder she was cold with me today in her response. That's how I think. But in reality, the test that we want to do right now is over the next couple of weeks, I will receive a message. But what should I do when I receive the message? Because the truth is, should anyone be interested in all of that? But yet, people need a way to be able to express themselves, and sometimes they take their time. And how do you decide the investment that you do when it comes to people? How do you decide what kind of person you are when it comes to the people in front of you in a way that doesn't take you away from yourself? That's it.